after Mo,
doesn't he say he doesn't eat the stuff?
Yeah, I don't eat the stuff. I don't like the stuff, but I give it to my dog. It's just fine. He's the FDA guy.
Yeah.
But the dog keeps getting around him and
doesn't like him.
Yeah, and then
he likes Mo.
Yeah, he likes Mo because Mo's taking him back and sees that he has that stockpile of stuff in there. Mm-hmm. And then they cut back at a weird point and they show him getting bitten by the dog and shit like that. The dog even rips the phone cord out of the wall.
Yeah. It's because it's possessed by the stuff.
Yeah, it's a zombie stuff dude. Okay, so now we're at the castle.
So let's go back to where we were in the present time.
So let's go back to the castle because, it's that kind of a movie. It already jumped weirdly. And, then so he's talking to the general, right? About, how I know he even talks to him about being an industrial saboteur, and the dude knew him from the FBI.
Sure.
And he said he wasn't in the FBI anymore. He's still wearing his Devo suit, and he's getting really, really like creepily close to him and whispering sweet nothings into his ear about how the food is taking over people and weird shit. And then all of a sudden he's like, all right, let's do this, and then they go down the stairs and they meet the chick, right? And he goes, well, maybe I can arrange you to give me something after this is all done. And he leans in for a fucking kiss. He like grabs her.
Yeah, well, and he even goes, Mo says, I think you're hitting on my lady.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he goes, like, you don't have to worry about that. You're probably going to die anyway.
Yeah. He's got like the best lines because he's like, yeah, you don't need to worry about it. You're probably not coming back.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you could ride with me. So then they go to the factory.
Yeah.
That's whenever they raid the factory, which all the workers like commit some sort of genocide or not genocide.
I think they all go to like the same rooms and the stuff comes out of them and becomes one stuff.
Yeah. And he's like, they must have had cyanide pills or some shit like that, right? Well, in that one line that he says, he goes, this stuff ain't no match for American boys. And he goes, we won all the wars. And
that kid goes, sir, even in Vietnam?
Yeah, what about Vietnam? And he's like, yeah, what is he?
We lost that at home.
Yeah, we lost that war at home, son.
Yep.
and then
America.
Yeah. And then they go into the room full of that stuff and he sends the wife his wife and son out, right? Yeah. And they go down that little corridor, which is a weird thing too, because they look at the two army dudes and they're like, which way is out? And they point to the open door outside. Like it's that way, right? But then all of a sudden the stuff starts coming down the stairs.
Yeah.
Right?
It's coming at them.
So the stuff is coming at them and somehow they end up in like a weird like fucking freezer full of like laundry baskets that are made of stainless steel.
Yeah.
And then they escape that shit. And then that's whenever... Bless you. Yeah, and then
Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Not a sponsor.
And then whenever they like get outside, the stuff starts escaping and it explodes the one wall.
Yeah.
Crushes like two dudes, right?
Yeah.
And then it like floats
wave
out.
Of stuff.
Yeah, and they're like, don't touch it. Don't let it get on you. And okay, cool. So I don't know how they came out the fucking side of the wall. There's got to be some weird shit that they cut out to like make this pacing so fucking weird.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was,
I don't know if they were trying to make it this fucking weird, but it just doesn't.
Definitely weird.
There's no linear style to this whatsoever. Yeah, and
it assumes a lot of things, that's for sure.
Right, exactly. But then I don't think they burn it or anything like that, right? The stuff is just free flowing out in the middle of nowhere, right?
First, like, for sure.
Yeah, and it's like just kind of floating out there in the middle of nothing, and then they're like, okay, well, let's go tell everybody about this.
Well, they do end up burning the stuff. Because remember, it burns up the side of that wall, and that's when it goes out, correct? Because there's a point where they have it in the back and it's on fire. Oh, that may be
that's at the radio station. Yeah, that's at the radio station.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so that's whenever they get to the airport, and somehow they're all fitting into his jet. All the militia dudes fit into his regular jet, right? Yeah, and they land because I guess they're in New York or some shit like that.
Yeah, who the fuck knows?
It's
I don't
weird.
know. I don't know where they are.
Yeah, and then so they're back there, and they're going to his radio station, right? And he goes into the
taxi cab.
Yeah, the taxi cab is like, what's going on? World War III. And he's like, how fast can you get me to 57th and 3rd? And and shut your liberal mouth or some shit like that. I don't want no liberal talk.
I think he does talk about he owned a couple news radio stations in the South, though, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
So he's trying to get the word out. So that's where they're going. Maybe they're in Atlanta or something. I don't know where the fuck they are, right?
Yeah.
And so they go into the radio, and then also there's a Stuff commercial playing, and the dude looks so sad after he turns it up. He's like, oh, it's just the sports hour or some shit. He turns it on, and it's an ad for the Stuff, and then the dude looks all dejected. He's like, wah, wah. And he's like, take that. I don't want that stuff playing on the air. So then they go into the radio booth, and that's when Garrett Morris shows up, too. Yes. Garrett Morris is back, finally.
Yes.
So he shows up, and they're like writing something, and Mo says something like, you can't write this. You know, it's something weird like that, right?
Right.
And so Garrett Morris comes in, and Garrett Morris kind of worms his way in to start talking, right? And then Paul Sorvino has another good line. He's like, well, I guess we can have this color guy talk on here as long as you don't speak in code or speak any of that communist stuff while you're on the air. Because he's like a total racist, right? Racist asshole General Gromit.
Right, yeah, he's a son of a bitch.
Yeah, something weird. And then so is Mo's wife and fucking Garrett Morris are in the radio booth, right? They're about to go on. And that's when Garrett Morris does his exploding head technique, and he starts.
Yeah, it looks like he's like choking on something all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's like he's dancing. My wife said that too. She's like, "Were they about to dance?"
Right.
And then all of a sudden he's like grabbing onto her, and she's like, "Ah!" And then the giant tongue comes out of his mouth, his throat, right?
The giant stuffed tongue,
the stuffed throat, which is weird. And so then that's when they burn it. Because that's a shitty effect, too. Whenever Mo breaks the glass, it's all animated on that part.
Right,
like they drew that shit in and he breaks it. And the kid's about to get attacked because the kid somehow wanders into the booth, you know. He's got no radio ethics.
Right.
No radio couth. So then he saves them, but they leave it burning in there.
Yeah. They don't care about that.
Yeah. They don't put it out or anything like the thing, you know. They would burn it on the thing and then they would put it out.
Right. But
this one, they just let it burn, and the radio station's obviously going to burn because there's a lot of foam in that room.
I guess they're just trying to make sure it's all gone. I don't know.
I don't know what it is because the stuff looked kind of weird in there. And then, of course, they go on the air, and the dude with the coolest radio voice ever is like, this is not a radio dramatization. This is real life. Stay tuned for an important message. And he just doesn't totally look like anybody that should be talking like that. And so it looks like the kid's about to talk too.
Yeah, like they just said, like he gets in front of the radio and gets all like comfortable.
Yeah, like he's got that SM57 in front of him and he's about to start talking. And then who actually talks during that? Was it
It was the
Colonel, it was a
right?
general, yeah, or colonel or whatever
the hell, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Gromit.
Sorvino.
Yeah, and so he starts spreading the word, and then they do another hard cut to where she's sitting there, basically like saying, and everybody listened. And then they kind of have that little bit of talk right there where she's like, everybody stopped eating the stuff. And that's when the stuff started getting burned. And they showed these big giant effigies of stuff everywhere getting burned and people throwing the shit in the fire. Right. And nobody's eating it anymore. So then he ends up in Mr. Burns' office again. So he's literally there with Mr. Burns and then one of the other ice cream dudes, right? Or somebody.
Yeah, he like comes out of the back. So I think it was like they were competitors, but they were really into it together.
Somehow. Yeah, somehow. So then the kid brings in the fucking box of stuff and he makes them eat it.
Well, before that, because they have a new version of the stuff.
Yeah. The taste.
Only 12% the stuff.
Yeah. So it won't affect people.
88% ice cream, so it won't take over their brains.
And real dairy.
They'll crave more. Yeah, with real dairy.
With real dairy.
The taste.
Yeah, the taste. It looks just like the stuff. Nobody will be fooled. And then they make him eat it and everything like that. And that's whenever, they get addicted to it and they're all chugging the stuff and shit like that because they eat so much of it.
Well, that's when he says, are you eating it or is it eating you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And then that's pretty much it, isn't it? Is there anything after that?
Yeah. So they take off because they can hear the police coming. Mm-hmm. And then it cuts to the the truck pulling up and he's selling the contraband stuff to like somebody
the
on
black
the
market
street.
stuff. Yeah.
And then of course in the corner, I didn't know this until I like read into it, but one of those guys, the guy that's standing there is Patrick Dempsey.
Yes.
But he doesn't have a speaking line, so he's not credited or anything.
He just looks like a punk rock kid.
Yeah.
He's a Morgan Stewart coming home.
Yeah.
Whatever that dude's name was. But yeah, no. What a weird fucking movie.
Yeah, it was really strange. And all right.
I almost hit myself with my microphone.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a big play on consumerism. I guess that the New World Productions wasn't very happy with when the movie came out. They wanted a straight up horror film.
I can see why.
And Cohen even said it was more comedic than maybe they intended,
Well, obviously, it had to have been really tongue-in-cheek, like we're getting to make a movie. How shitty can we make it?
And Garrett Morris was not happy with the situation, apparently, they asked him in an interview, I think AV Club asked him in an interview, like, what he thought of Cohen. He's like, I was told if I don't have anything nice to say, not to say it.
Don't say anything at all?
Yeah.
That's just so weird that you had all these really big actors in this very disjointed movie, just like this podcast.
Yeah, this podcast was disjointed.
Very disjointed because this movie was disjointed. It was such a... I mean, you can sit down and watch it multiple times and you'll still never really understand where the fuck they're going with it. I mean, I get the dramatic rise, but there was no like payoff.
There was no payoff. There was no connective tissue throughout the movie.
Yeah.
You're just like scene to scene to scene to scene. And that's kind of discombobulating. And definitely, I mean, it's laughable. There is some gold in there. As far as some of the laughable parts, I'm going to now start walking into rooms and tell, when I shake people's hands, be like sweaty palms.
That's another sweaty palm.
That's another sweaty palm.
That's another sweaty palm. You guys all nervous or something? This is weird. That dude, I just cannot understand how that dude has gotten so many awards for that. That guy's horrible. Maybe he was better on Law and Order, but I'm not going to watch it until I'm like 75.
Him and Sorvino were in Law and Order together for like 3 years or 6 seasons or something like that.
And Paul Sorvino is a good actor.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
He's a genuine actor, and so is nobody else in that movie. I really wouldn't. Maybe the old dude. The guy that ran
Abe Vigoda was in it.
Yeah, Abe Vigoda.
We didn't talk about that scene.
Yeah, the commercial. Anthony Perkins was in that. Abe Vigoda.
And the Wendy's lady.
Clara Peller.
Is that the Wendy's lady?
Yeah.
Where's the beef?
Yeah.
Where's the stuff?
Yeah. Where's the stuff at? It's just a weird movie.
It's a very strange movie. I would say it's worth watching. I think that it's if you consider the time, it's very topical underlying themes, you know what I mean? And probably
still today,
maybe even more so today.
I think remake capability for this movie is very high up. And if they did it,
they should ever make this movie again.
If they did it, it would be way better than the original. I mean, just because you could actually really structure it to where it would work better. But you get rid of like
the story, and the characters,
and you just have the stuff. You could make a movie out of the stuff. You could, I mean, and poke fun at consumerism.
I don't want to see that ever in my life.
Somebody will try it. It'll be a Blumhouse movie.
Yeah, and it'll be an award winner.
Yes,
Watch.
Yeah. It'll be a parasitic award winner.
And I could see that just because it is. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely, if you kept the theme of playing on consumerism.
I don't even think this is considered a cult classic.
No, this is some dropped culture, sir.
This is some very, very, very weird, out of the fucking way. You got to look for this shit.
So I will share that after I told my wife we were doing this movie, and she goes, because of that movie, I didn't eat yogurt for 20 years. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
She was young. She had to be little when she watched that,
I never watched it until this year or 2019. And then I decided, it's a Larry Cohen movie, so I'm going to see what this is about. Yeah. Apparently he was a big dude at the time. So, but with wigs aside and the fucking crazy linear yogurt the yogurt that followed a trail.
Yes.
That was the stuff. Sorry it was a little disjointed because that movie was fucking disjointed.
Fair.
Yes.
That is fair.
This movie, I almost put it in the pantheon of